Okay, folks, it is 4 o'clock. We'll go ahead and start the meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Our first item is our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair, could you read our mission statement?
The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Need approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any additions? Hearing none, please vote. It is approved. Public forum. Is anybody in the public that would like to approach the board? Now is your time. Moving on to our presentation, our fiscal year 2018 audit. Would like to welcome Hoffman and Bros. And you're definitely not Lisa.
No, I'm not. Lisa can't talk, so you get me.
I wonder why Jim was in such a good mood today. So.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. No, she's whispering. You can't even
okay.
understand her whisper, so she's out of commission for speaking. So you get me.
Oh, welcome.
My name's Tamara Deitz. I'm a manager at Hoffman and Bropst. I've been on this audit pretty much since I've started there, so I think this is about my 8th year on the audit. And this is for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018. You had an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, what you want, on the financial statements as well as the single audit. So your federal revenue pieces of that. The revenues exceeded your expenditures for your governmental funds. That would be general fund, food service, community service, debt service, building project fund also. Those were exceeded 54,000. That was mainly due to an increase in revenues, offset by the completion of the capital improvement and health and safety improvements. The increase in revenue, mainly because you guys had more students, as well as an increase in the general education aid formula, and then voluntary pre-K is also in that as well too this year. The district received the Meritorious Budget Award for the 2018 budget. I was wondering if I would stumble over that word, so. And the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting for the fiscal year 2017 CAFR. The district also implemented GASB Statement Number 75, which is for the accounting and financial reporting for post-employment benefits other than pensions. This requires the district to recognize the total OPEB liability and related deferred inflows and outflows on the government-wide statement. So just some more fun liabilities to add to those statements as a whole. Looking at the district's future, there's a 2% increase in the formula for general education aid in fiscal year 19. So just kind of a broad overview of that. Basically, if your student counts didn't do anything, if they stayed stagnant, you'd still see an increase in revenue. So, the school board extended the board approved referendum authority in the amount of $300 per adjusted pupil unit and accepts the $424 in local optional revenue, and that will be applicable for 5 years starting in fiscal year 19. The district is also collecting community input right now to see if another building bond referendum should be proposed and what that referendum would look like. For the district's enrollment, you can see this is for 5 years. It goes back a year to fiscal year 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. You'll see basically an overall slight improvement in enrollment. In 20 and 21, there's a little bit of a drop, and mainly that's just the district not projecting the voluntary pre-K program to continue. We don't know what will happen, so it's just a budgeting tool for you guys just to not have that in there. So This graph is looking at fund balance in the blue and then your cash balance in the red for the general fund. This is only Fund 1, which excludes your transportation and operating capital. So as you can see, over the last 5 years, we've had good growth. At the end of 2018, you had about 5.75 million in ending fund balance in the general fund and 5.5 million in adjusted cash balances. So that is very healthy. On the top, on this slide, 2018 general fund revenue, and on the bottom, 2017 general fund revenue. As you can see, between the 2 years, your revenue proportions are pretty much the same, so not much change at all. The largest source of revenue is from the state, so that's with every school. And the federal revenue sources are just a small percentage, 3% in 2018, but they cause the most compliance requirements. So that's where your single audit comes in, 750,000 and more, and federal revenue causes a single audit, so you guys have that. Here again is the revenue by source, just a different way to look at it in the bar graph. As you can see, the tallest lines there are going to be those state sources. And then everything else is pretty much the same. Higher state funding in 2018 is because of that basic formula increase and then also an enrollment increase. The local funding in 2014, which is the red, the far left line, the decrease in that in 14, there was the state tax shift is when that was all going on. So that's why that looks a little bit different there. These graphs are looking at your expenditures by object. So 18 on the top, 17 on the bottom again. Again, as you can see, proportionally, no change. So that's what we like to see. Sometimes you might see some different, percentages in equipment, your capital expenditures, but nothing here this year. Again, bar graph. Salaries and wages is the red, so the largest line, and then the next one is employee benefits in the yellow. That's what we would expect to see. The school's job is to educate students, and in order to do that, you need teachers. So again, every school, salaries and benefits are going to be your highest expenditure. On this graph, again, this one is expenditures by program. So you'll see the programs down at the bottom. And the most expenditures are going to be in your regular instruction and then exceptional instruction. Each color is for the years 14 through 18. So every year you can see that those are your largest expenditures. As far as the other funds besides your general fund, the food service fund balance increased roughly $120,000. That's due to a slight decline in food costs, increased breakfast participation, and then the addition of the BPK program, and an increase in enrollment from year over year. The ending fund balance in the food service fund was about $325,000. The community service fund seen an increase of $115,000. That's mostly due to more funding for ABE, adult basic education, and a decrease in your various program expenditures. At the end of the year, the fund balance in the community service fund was approximately $395,000. The building construction fund balance zeroed out at the end of the year. Any remaining funds there, or there were no remaining funds on this one, so everything was spent for your energy conservation and indoor air quality improvement projects. So that fund is zeroed out. The debt service fund balance increased about $123,000. That's mostly due to levying for your QZAB bond payments, and those are set aside in an escrow account until the bonds mature. The OPEB debt service fund just had a small decrease in fund balance, so Nothing there. The OPEB Revocable Trust Internal Service Fund incurred a net $44,000 income on investments and then paid the general fund approximately $62,000 for employee benefits. So that ends the presentation. Are there any questions at all? Okay. I want to give a shout out and a thanks to Dion and all of the staff. They were great. Anything that we needed, we got, and they answered any questions that we had. So Lisa will be sending over the copies of the report as well. So.
Anybody that wants a hard copy, just let me know. Otherwise, it'll be available on our website eventually.
Yep. All right.
Hey, thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Just to tail off of that, I just want to, Russ puts about 80% of that, the things together for Hoffman and Bros for the audit. And couldn't have done it without him. He did a great job this year preparing it even before the audit started. So.
Thanks, Russ. Moving on to our board forum. Board members, anything you'd like to bring up?
I just wanted to give a tip of the cap to Scott. Last week we had Minnesota State Chancellor Devinder Mohatra in town for a couple of reasons, and one of the things he's doing a workforce and partnerships tour of the state, meeting with businesses and community entities, finding out challenges they're facing with workforce, and looking at partnerships that various businesses or school districts in our case have with their local institutions. And Scott did a great job kind of highlighting the partnerships that we have between Marshall Public Schools and SMSU, and it was kind of fun to see the list he put together. And I know the Chancellor was really impressed, and I think some of the businesses in town that were there, we had almost all of our largest employers in the community represented at this forum. I think it was good for people to see the many ways that we are working together and the opportunities that we have, all with the same goal in mind, to provide opportunities for our young people.
That was a nice piece.
Yeah, the paper, thank you. I know, Jenny, you didn't do it, but thank you to the paper, great coverage, and we appreciated that. So heard lots of comments on that. So.
Very good. Anybody else?
I would just make a note, Jeff, if I could, that Wednesday we have a special school board meeting at 4 o'clock where Pat Overham is going to kind of walk all of you or all of us through a series of questions regarding facilities, similar questions to what he's used with other groups and what's being used at the community input sessions. And then at 6:30 that evening, from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, will be the second community input session out at the high school in the media center. I think we've have 3 of you board members who have agreed to attend, and we'll have some administrators there and hopefully get some more good input regarding the future of our facilities.
Very good. And board members, remember December 3rd, we have to be here at 6:01 for our truth and taxation. Dion, are you presenting that?
Yes, sir.
All right.
It'll be exciting.
Can't wait.
This will be a first major test for him.
Most exciting meetings of the year.
Moving on to our discussion items, we have, this is a second review of policies 701 through 705. Anybody have any questions on those policies? Moving on to our action items, approval to set a special meeting date to canvass the election. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
We're looking at November 13th at 4 o'clock. Who made the motion? You did, that's fine. Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, please vote. Moving on to our personnel items. Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
I just have a question regarding personnel, not based upon this. Just a question. how's our new assistant principal working out at Maytech? Settled in pretty well?
Yeah, we can talk about that. I don't talk about performance publicly.
No, I'm not talking about performance, but settling in.
Absolutely.
The motion did pass. Anything else, board members? Do you have anything you'd like to bring up? No? Are
Vote
you-
tomorrow.
Are you glad the quarter's over?
Yeah,
Is this quarter easier?
I had the same classes.
Oh,
Mostly
same?
I had
Okay.
semester long.
I heard at the new board, when they elect a new board, that they were going to do away with homework. What do you think about that?
I think homework should stay.
All right, meeting's over. Thank you.